Alright, this video is on how to find a chin rest that's going to work optimally for you and for your instrument. I'll also talk a little bit about shoulder rests here, but it's essential to begin with the chin rest. So the first step is to understand how to correctly hold the violin or viola. I have some other videos on this topic, which I've linked to in the description. For now, I'll just give a quick summary and then get into the process of measuring yourself and your instrument. So first things first, I want to make sure that my shoulders are back and down, not raised like that. The next thing I want to do is make sure that when I put the instrument up, and I'm going to do this without the shoulder rest for now so that you can see more clearly, the bottom plate of the instrument is touching my collarbone, and then the button's going to touch my neck, and I'm not moving my head in any way. So here's what it looks like when I correctly put the violin up. So now that I have the violin up and you've seen that, let's get into how to measure. So the first step, and I have these little wedges of paper underneath my chin rest. I don't recommend that. I really need to take my instrument into the shop and just have a luthier put some cork underneath the feet of my chin rest. But for now, I'm going to show you just with my violin as is. So I'm going to take a measuring tape or a ruler, and I'm going to measure the width of my instrument's ribs. So here are the ribs. They're the thickness between the two plates. So I'm going to measure from the top of the top plate to the bottom of the bottom plate, which on my violin, I believe is about, last time I measured it, yeah, it's about 34 millimeters. So I'm going to measure in millimeters because I want to be really precise. So that's 34, and then I would write that down. So that's step one. So step two is to measure your neck. So let's talk about how to do that. I'm going to find the inside point of my collarbone because this is the lowest point of my chin. That's actually relevant. So here's the left side, which is the side that I hold the violin on. Here's the inside point of my collarbone. Here's the bottom of my chin right there. And so without moving my head in any direction, and then I find in particular people tend to go like this, which gives you a faulty measurement. So we don't want to go like this at all or lift up our chin before we measure. We want to just keep looking straight ahead. So it's good to do this in a mirror. So I'm going to measure from this point to the bottom of my chin, directly above it. And I'm going to put this measuring tape here. And then just, obviously this is a little approximate, but I'm just going to find the spot where if I let go, and so I'm just going to mark with my finger, like that's here to here. So for me, and I've measured a few times, and obviously this is not super precise, it comes out to around 85 millimeters, so 8.5 centimeters. So you also then want to write down that number. So that's step two. So step three is going to be to take the, I'm just pulling up my instructions right here because I want to make sure that I have this all aligned. So that's step one and step two. Step three, you're going to subtract the width of your instrument's ribs, so that first number that we got, which is that distance, from the measurement of your neck, which is this distance. So so that's step three. And then after you do that, you want to subtract an additional 15 millimeters or 1.5 centimeters just to be safe because we want to err a little bit on the shorter side and just give ourselves a little bit of room. And then step five is round to the nearest 10 millimeters. So for me, like if I subtract 85 and then I subtract 34, I get 51. That's my step three. Step four, I'm going to subtract an additional 15, so from 51 millimeters, I get 36 millimeters. And then step five, round to the nearest 10 millimeters. So If it ends in a 5, I'd recommend rounding down actually, just to kind of go a little bit lower. And then that is step 6, which is the height of a chin rest you need. So for my instrument, my violin, from the top of my chin rest to the bottom of the bottom plate comes out to about 71 millimeters. So you can see how if I started at 85, that's 14 millimeters less. So that's kind of perfect for me, just having a little tiny bit of wiggle room, like 1.5 centimeters worth of wiggle room between, so that it's not like pressing on my jaw. But that's basically how to determine what height of a chin rest you need. Is you just want to fill up from here to here, that space. So let's now talk about how the shoulder rest comes into play here. So as you can see, you don't want the shoulder rest to fill up any of this space from here to here. And the reason for that is that it's going to cause you ultimately to raise your shoulder if you do that, and it also can cause you to kind of tilt your head down. So the shoulder rest, what that's for is just to fill up this space right here, not any space from my collarbone to my chin. So the shoulder rest goes on like this, so you can now see how it's adding just a little bit of space on this side, so that way it's easier to shift.